It's a goddamn shame when studios step in and take a movie away from a director, rip it apart, try to make it more commercial like they know what the hell they're doing, and ruin it. The genre that this happens in more often than any other genre is the horror movie genre. Um, and the filmmaker that this seems to happen to more than any other filmmaker is Clive Barker. Um, so many Clive Barker movies over the years have been butchered. Decker did a fantastic Summer of Hellraiser where he reviewed all the Hellraiser movies and we saw what happened with those. Some of those movies actually could have been really interesting. The original idea for Hellraiser Bloodline was fascinating. I followed the production of that in Cinema Fantastique magazine, which I don't think exists anymore. But I followed the production of the movie, and it could have been amazing, and they really ripped it to shreds. Um, they did a similar number on Clive's Lord of Illusion. Luckily, he was able to get the director's cut of that out immediately on well, I guess at the time it would have been VHS, but that's the only version of that movie I think that really exists anymore is the director's cut. But the movie that they ruined the most of Clive's was a movie called Nightbreed, uh, in production in 1989. Nightbreed was his follow-up to Hellraiser, and he was extremely naive because after Hellraiser was a giant success and he got no studio interference about it, he thought, okay, well, this is great. Big success. I'll get more money. I'll make a bigger, better movie. And he set out to do that with Nightbreed, and the studio panicked. Panicked. Um, they did not like. See, Nightbreed is based on a novella called Cabal, which I have read because I own every Clive Barker book, and Cabal is about a secret place called Midian where the monsters go. The monsters are the good guys in in Cabal and in the adaptation Nightbreed, and the studio didn't know what to do with that. How well you can't have the monsters be the good guys, um, and so they took it away from Clive. They recut it. They tried to turn it into a slasher movie, which didn't really make any sense. And they marketed it all wrong, and it came out, and nobody went to go see it. It was critically ravaged, and as happens with filmmakers, the blame went to Clive. But Clive really did not deserve it because this was not his vision of this movie. This was what the studios butchered it to try and make it something that would be commercial. And of course, when you try to make that happen, oftentimes you completely and utterly fail. So it was heartening when I saw that there was a movement called Occupy Midian, which I actually was in contact with the guy who ran it, and he gave me a lot of the inside scoop as they progressed in getting the director's cut out to us all. There was originally a cut that played in theaters called the Cabal cut. They played on the film festival circuit, and it was essentially everything. It was like they found every shot that was filmed for this movie, and they put it all together and they put it out um, in a really bad. I mean, these were on old VHS tapes, and it was spliced together with the footage from the movie. And from what I've heard, it's interesting, but it's not a very good cut. The pacing is all off and everything. So I was really glad when they said we're going to release the director's cut onto Blu-ray, but it's not the Cabal cut. It is Clive's vision. We're going to cut the movie the way he wanted it cut, not the Cabal cut, the director's cut. And now, after so many years of waiting for this, I have it. I own it. Um, I bought this directly from Shout Factory, who are the good people who are putting this out, and quite a not I was not expecting a giant box, but they were very generous with this. They sent me a poster, which I'm going to frame and proudly put on my wall. I bought one of the. They even numbered it. I bought of the 10,000 copies for the first run. I bought number 1,293. So I jumped on it as soon as that thing went up. Um, it comes with this nice book with all sorts of production stills and character character images and stuff. Um, and then there's the theatrical cut, which I don't know why they even bothered, because I will never watch this again. In fact, I sent my the DVD of the theatrical cut, which I've owned for years. I sent to Decker. Hopefully, maybe he'll review it and tear it apart, because the producers really released an incomprehensible movie. But this is what I was waiting for: the director's cut of Nightbreed. It is, if you buy it from Shout Factory, it is a 2 disc with lots of bonus features. Um, this is a great movie. This is a great movie. That happens sometimes, where you'll see a movie and it won't be very good. I can think of, it happens with Ridley Scott all the time. Like, I did not like Kingdom of Heaven. I hated Blade Runner when I first saw those movies. Um, and then you see the director's cut, and it's like a completely different experience. And suddenly you're like, oh, that's what he wanted it to be. Um, that's what this is. It is. This is a really, really good. I mean, this is a solid like 9 out of 10 movie, in my opinion. I was shocked. Nightbreed was always the bastard child of my Clive Barker film collection. Hellraiser was, of course, the movie that I loved the most. Um, I love Lord of Illusion. I think Lord of Illusion is a great movie. Um, I love Candyman, which Clive didn't direct, but it's based on his story, and he produced it. Nightbreed was always one that it was just really forgettable, and I've in my whole life maybe watched it 3 times. This is maybe his best movie now. I mean, I'm shocked to say I'm honest to God shocked to say that. I think Nightbreed's better than Hellraiser. The director's cut of Nightbreed, I think, is better than Hellraiser. I didn't see that coming. But it was a very pleasant surprise. The pacing is amazing in it. It is a longer movie now. I mean, it's a movie that has room to breathe. The original did not have room to breathe. The original was just sort of like, again, trying to be this relentless slasher movie, which it wasn't, and it just didn't make any sense for it to be that. Um, Now this movie is one that is very thoughtful. It's if you're, I wouldn't even call it a horror movie, by the way. I'm reviewing it for the 31 Days of Halloween. However, I don't really consider it. It's now much more a fantasy movie than a horror movie, and a very good one. Clive is actually a very, everybody associates him with horror, but he really does do more fantasy than anything else. His books tend to, like Weeb World and Imagica, um, they they go in more in that direction. Of course, the Abarat books and the Thief of Always, and the children's books he does. Those are more fantasy oriented, but his books are more fantasy than horror most of the time. Um, Nightbreed is more a fantasy movie. Hellraiser is a straight out horror movie. The original cut of Nightbreed is more of a straight up horror movie. This is much more of a slow paced, thoughtful fantasy film with some gore. It is gory, and it's got monsters in it, and it's fun, but it is more thoughtful, and it is kind of a masterpiece. I'm going to go out and say it. And again, this is from the guy who thought that Nightbreed originally wasn't that great. I think it's great now. I think it's a really great movie. Um, Buy this. I actually, the good people at Scream Factory actually sent me my copy 2 weeks early, which I appreciate. That was helpful in doing this review, because otherwise I would. I think it just comes out this week for if you didn't pre-order it through them. Um, but it's out now. It's out this week. Buy it. It is so good. I mean, it's going to be hard to find you in stores. You're not going to find it in stores. Go to Amazon. They've got it, and pick it up. It's really. I mean, if you like thoughtful movies in the fantasy horror genre, you're gonna really enjoy this. I really enjoyed it, and I hope all of you do too. So happy Halloween, everybody, and as always, thank you, Mr. Barker. You're awesome all the time.